I think a lot about time when I'm on my bike. Why is it that, as a child, time seems to move by more slowly? Maybe it's because when you're young, you're constantly learning and discovering new things. In a way, bikepacking recaptures this feeling for me. Every day is filled with challenges and uncertainty. Sometimes I feel discomfort. Sometimes I feel pain. And this is definitely not always fun. But one thing I never feel when I'm on an adventure is depressed. Every day I wake up to the sunshine. Every day I have a goal of getting to my next meal or camp spot. And when I make it to the end of a long trip, it gives me a feeling of self-efficacy that very few other things in my life can provide. And so this weekend, I'm off to the hill country to ride 66 miles on some of the best dirt roads Texas has to offer. The little town of Castell is the midway point, where I made camp on the Llano River and spent the evening listening to the coyotes howl. I'm riding my Trek 720 today. I decided that since this route is mostly flat, mostly on gravel roads, I'd bring this instead of my 600X. And it's so much faster. It feels great. Wintertime is typically when I focus more on my other hobby, Olympic weightlifting. I've competed in weightlifting for the last decade. My goal this year is to lift at the national championship in June. It's not easy to balance weightlifting and bikepacking. Bike trips don't always allow me to eat and sleep enough to recover from lifting, but it's worth it, and I feel so grateful to have these things in my life that give me fulfillment. The Texas Hill Country has a cultural history influenced by early German settlers. One of those settlers was Herman Lehmann, who's buried here in Loyal Valley Cemetery. Part of the reason I chose this ride was to tell his story, and I promise it's not a boring one, so bear with me. In 1870, when Herman was 11 years old, he was abducted by Apache Indians. While in captivity, he was tortured and forced to eat raw meat that made him sick. After enduring these hardships, Herman had proven himself to the Indians, and they began to take him on raids. In one case, Herman was the lone survivor of an ambush that killed his tribe and left him stranded in the wilderness. During the raid, Herman had killed a rival Apache medicine man. Alone in the woods and aware the Indians were hunting him, he was forced to seek out asylum with the Comanche. Herman lived for several years with the Comanche, but as the American behemoth started to encroach on native territory, it was clear the Indian way of life was coming to an end. The Comanche were given the option of starving for lack of buffalo or moving to a reservation. They chose the latter, and it was on the reservation that American soldiers noticed a blue-eyed, light-haired boy living among the Indians. The soldiers eventually discovered that it was Herman Lehmann, the boy who had been missing for 9 years. After being reunited with his family, Herman made his way to Loyal Valley, Texas, and lived there until his death in 1932. As I sat next to his grave, I thought of what it must have been like to be an 11-year-old boy carried away by the Apache. What was it like to have to assimilate into a culture so foreign from your own? What was it like to be an adolescent boy forced to kill? And finally, what was it like to re-enter society after all that time spent among the Indians? Herman's story is one of incredible youthful resilience and helps to shed light on some of the challenges between Native American tribes and the expanding American frontier. It was so cold last night. I really need a new sleeping bag if I'm going to be camping in 30-degree weather. It's amazing how when I wake up to the sunshine, I don't need caffeine. I feel awake and alive the second I open my eyes. If only I could feel that way every day. Something that is kind of unfortunate about living in Texas is that 95% of the land is privately owned, which means there's a serious lack of bikepacking routes here. There are a few in Big Bend and a couple outside of San Antonio, but that's pretty much it. You can't spend much time on the land here in Texas. But I have some plans for this summer. I'm thinking about riding the Colorado Trail, or flying to Italy and riding the Veneto Trail. I've dreamed of completing the Colorado Trail for several years now, and I promised myself that it won't be something I just talk about for the next decade. But for at least the next 6 months until I compete at nationals, I'll be bikepacking in Central Texas. If you made it to the end, I sincerely appreciate it. The fact that anyone likes to watch my videos means the world to me, and I look forward to making more videos for you.